What if I told you that the moment you stop believing in miracles is exactly when one might find you? There are stories that challenge everything we think we know about the human body, about faith, about the thin line between hope and despair. This is one of those stories. In a small hospital room, a woman named Sarah Mitchell was dying. At least, that's what every doctor, every scan, every medical report confirmed. Stage 4 brain cancer, terminal, weeks, maybe days left. Her family had already begun saying their goodbyes. But what happened next would shake the foundations of everything her doctors believed and everything her family thought they understood about the fragility and resilience of human life. This is the story of an unexpected recovery that defied logic, challenged medicine, and reminded us all that sometimes the most profound truths exist in the spaces between what we know and what we can't explain. Sarah was 42 when the headaches started. At first, they were just an inconvenience, something she attributed to stress from her job as a high school art teacher. But the headaches grew worse. Then came the vision problems, the dizziness. The morning she collapsed in her classroom was the morning everything changed. The MRI revealed a massive tumor wrapped around her brainstem. Glioblastoma, one of the most aggressive, most deadly forms of brain cancer known to medicine. Her oncologist, Dr. Raymond Chen, struggled to maintain his composure. The tumor was inoperable. She had, at best, 3 months to live. Her husband, Michael, held her hand as if he could anchor her to life through sheer force of will. Their 2 daughters, Emma and Claire, couldn't even process the words. What followed were weeks that felt like years. Sarah started chemotherapy, even though everyone knew it was just buying time. The treatment made her sick, robbed her of her hair, stole her energy. The woman who had been a force of creativity and light became a shadow moving slowly through her own home. Michael would wake up at 3 in the morning to the sound of her crying, trying to muffle her sobs so she wouldn't wake the girls. By week 8, Sarah was hospitalized. The tumor had grown despite treatment. The doctor suggested hospice care. They suggested making her comfortable. They suggested saying goodbye. The hospital room became a sacred space filled with whispered prayers and silent tears. Michael never left, sleeping in the chair beside her bed, holding her hand through the night, feeling her pulse grow weaker. Emma and Claire struggled to balance school with hospital visits. How do you concentrate on algebra when your mother is dying? On day 12 in the hospital, Sarah's condition deteriorated sharply. Her breathing became labored, her heart rate unstable. Dr. Chen made the assessment he'd made too many times before. She had hours, not days. What happened that night depends on who you ask. Around midnight, with the family gathered, Sarah's breathing became so shallow they thought she had stopped altogether. The monitors showed her heart rate dropping, her oxygen levels falling. A nurse rushed in and quietly told the family that these were likely her final moments. Michael leaned close and whispered that it was okay to let go. But Sarah's sister Jennifer remembers something else happening in that moment. She felt something shift in the room, not a physical change, but something she couldn't quite explain. The air felt different, charged somehow. She saw Sarah's face suddenly relax, the lines of pain softening. Emma, holding her mother's hand, felt a warmth spread from Sarah's palm into her own. Sarah's breathing steadied, deepened. The monitor that had been alarming went quiet. Her heart rate stabilized. Over the next hour, Sarah's vitals didn't decline. They improved. By 3 in the morning, she was sleeping peacefully. The family simply sat there as night gave way to dawn, and their dying wife, mother, daughter, simply didn't die. Dr. Chen arrived for rounds the next morning expecting to find a grieving family. Instead, he found Sarah sitting up in bed, drinking water, speaking clearly for the first time in days. He stood in the doorway, frozen. He immediately ordered scans, suspecting a temporary rally before the final decline. But the scan results made no sense. The tumor had shrunk by nearly 40% in less than 24 hours. That was biologically impossible. Glioblastomas don't shrink spontaneously. They grow, they invade, they kill. Dr. Chen called in other oncologists. He checked and rechecked everything, but it was definitely Sarah Mitchell, and her tumor was definitely shrinking. What followed were weeks of intense medical scrutiny. Sarah became a case study, a puzzle that the hospital's entire oncology department tried to solve. The tumor continued to shrink, day by day, week by week, without any medical intervention whatsoever. Dr. Chen presented Sarah's case at medical conferences. Other doctors suggested explanations, but none held up to scrutiny. Sarah underwent surgery 3 months later, surgery that had been deemed too dangerous before. The tumor was now small enough to remove. During the operation, Dr. Chen personally examined the tissue. It was definitely glioblastoma, but it was dying, as if something had attacked it at the cellular level and won. In his case notes, Dr. Chen wrote that in his 30 years of practice, he had never seen anything like this and could not offer a medical explanation. Sarah's recovery was gradual but steady. 6 months after that night in the hospital, she was back in her classroom, standing in front of her students, tears streaming down her face as they applauded her return. But the recovery wasn't just physical. Sarah had made peace with dying, had said her goodbyes, and then suddenly had to learn how to live again. She wrestled with questions that had no answers. Why her? Why not others who were equally deserving? Michael describes those months as a second courtship. Emma and Claire became fiercely protective and deeply appreciative of ordinary moments. Everyone has a theory about what happened to Sarah Mitchell. The scientific community points to spontaneous remission, a rare phenomenon that occurs in about 1 in 60,000 to 1 in 100,000 cancer cases. But spontaneous remission usually takes months or years, not hours, and it's almost unheard of in glioblastomas. Sarah's religious friends and family believe it was divine intervention, a miracle granted through prayer. Jennifer maintains that something transcendent happened in that hospital room. Sarah herself isn't sure what to believe. Some researchers suggest that extreme stress might trigger unknown healing mechanisms, that the brain-body connection is far more powerful than we previously understood. These are speculations without proof, but they represent science grappling with phenomena it can't yet explain. 5 years later, Sarah Mitchell is cancer-free. Her scans show no signs of tumor recurrence. She's beaten the odds in a way that no medical textbook prepared her doctors for. She speaks at cancer support groups, not as a guru, but as someone who understands the unique terror of terminal illness. She tells people that none of us knows what tomorrow holds, that giving up hope and giving up fighting are different things, that even in the darkest night, dawn might come in ways we never expected. Dr. Chen remains in contact with Sarah, still fascinated by her case. He's become more open to the mysteries of healing, more willing to admit the limits of current medical knowledge. So what do we do with a story like this? How do we process an event that seems to defy natural law? Some will dismiss it, insist there must be a rational explanation we're missing. Others will embrace it as proof of the supernatural. Both responses are understandable. Both are incomplete. Perhaps the truth is that reality is larger and stranger than either pure skepticism or pure faith allows. Perhaps there are genuine mysteries in the universe, phenomena that exist in the space between what we can measure and what we can only experience. What if the real lesson isn't about whether we can explain what happened, but about how we respond to the unexplainable? Sarah didn't waste time trying to understand why she survived. She focused on what she would do with the life she'd been given back. The story of Sarah Mitchell's unexpected recovery continues to circulate in medical journals and faith communities, in cancer support groups and skeptics forums. It remains a puzzle with no definitive solution, but maybe that's okay. Maybe we don't need every mystery solved. Maybe some stories are meant to remind us that the universe is vast, complex, and full of possibilities we haven't discovered yet. If you're facing your own impossible situation, I can't promise you a miracle, but I can tell you this. You don't know what tomorrow holds. None of us do. Sarah Mitchell didn't know that her last night would become her first morning, so hold on. Keep fighting. Not because healing is guaranteed, but because we genuinely don't know what's possible until we reach the edge and see what's waiting there. Sometimes it's the end, and sometimes, just sometimes, it's an unexpected beginning. What's your story of the impossible? Have you witnessed something that challenged everything you believed? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story moved you, if it gave you a moment of hope or wonder, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. We're here to explore the mysteries, the edges, the places where certainty gives way to awe. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being open to wonder. And remember, your story isn't finished yet.